So welcome back to this video series where I go through the Psychology of Human Misjudgement by Charlie Munger. And why are these important that we will talk about today? Well, they are super important to use in branding, personal branding, or in your business. We can also take smarter purchase decisions when we're comparing to when we're going to buy something, and we can understand why we so much like the objects of a person that we admire, if their products they are selling or using themselves. So this one can be really important to learn to make smarter purchase decisions. I'm a big believer of if we can make less stupid decisions and a few better decisions, we will have a better quality of life. We will have better finances. We will have better relationships. We will have better health. Our whole life can improve by just making a little bit smarter decisions. And Charlie Munger, he is an amazing person to study to achieve this. So now we are at number 10, which is called influence from mere association tendency. So let's say you're looking at two products you are going to buy. If one is priced much higher than the other one, some people will naturally believe that this one is of much higher quality, without doing the research themselves. So, and you can see that this way of pricing is a lot used in luxury products, for example. They make sure to have really high prices on their goods because they know that actually will increase sales. More people will want to buy these objects because of that. And the profits will go up as well, because there is much more profit margin in by doing so. So you can see this with all luxury products like Louis Vuitton, Hermes, and other luxury items, that just because they are much more expensive, it makes them more exclusive, and people want to buy them because they want to express that exclusivity and that they have money to spend, basically. You can see Coca-Cola have used this a lot in their branding. They want to be associated with happiness. So wherever there is an event that people associate with happiness, like a big sports event or something, they want to be there to advertise. Charlie makes the example, you would never see Coca-Cola advertise when in association with someone had died or something. They really want to be associated with happiness. And today we can see this is a lot used in influencer marketing. People want famous influencers to use their brands, use their products, and show other people that they're using their products, simply because then their product will be associated with this famous person. So if you have a company, you can think about what other people are associating your brand with. Charlie also writes another aspect of this tendency or principle is that if we are used to having success in our endeavors or our projects, we might become overconfident that everything we will do will be a success. And he says that is a problem. That is a way of falling for this principle, the association principle, because we associate our involvement in projects with that we will succeed at them. You can see if a person goes into a casino and accidentally or by luck he wins the first time, he will come back many times and probably lose more than he won, because he associated that first win with that he will continue winning. And also modern online casinos, they use this principle by luring people in. So they let people have a small win in the beginning before they start betting more and more, and then they actually start losing. But because they had that first experience of winning, they are kind of hooked and lured into the process. So Charlie also writes that we need to be careful to be associated with bad news. He's called this tendency for the Persian messenger, because in ancient Persia, if someone brought bad news to a ruler or someone in power, sometimes they would kill that messenger. So it was actually better for that messenger to run away or flee rather than actually deliver the bad news and fulfill his job. And Charlie writes that this is still present today. And a person, for example, might risk being fired for bringing some bad news to the boss or to the CEO of a company. And one interesting fact, because I've also been reading about Winston Churchill, that he made sure that this was not in his way during Second World War. So he would make sure to have all the people who reported to him to really report exactly what was going on, like not a sugar-coated version, because he wanted to have the proper and accurate information of how the war was going and what was happening, so that he could take smarter decisions. And I think that was a genius way of making sure that he actually got the real news and that people were not afraid of being the Persian messenger. So what do we want to look out for here? For example, a psychopath could make sure to portray traits of a nice person, a kind person, in order to go unnoticed or to get things their way, so that we associate them with kindness and niceness. If we are about to buy an item, buy a new software for a business or something for ourselves, we should really research the quality of the different options we're comparing, and not just look at, for example, I go with a higher priced option because then that's high quality and I like high quality. So to really make sure to compare maybe customer reviews and see, okay, what kind of value do I actually get for that money? Price is what I pay, value is what I get. But if we have a company, we can also make sure that our personal brand or our products are associated with the result that we are selling. We can, for example, do this with customer success stories. We could also make collaboration with other strong brands or other people that are respected in that field, for example, to achieve this. So number 11, simple pain-avoiding psychological denial. And Charlie Munger, he used a quite complicated language. But if we simplify that a little bit, it means that sometimes the truth is so painful that people are denying it. They cannot accept the truth because it would be too painful. And he makes the example of one friend, a family that he knew, where the son in the family left for World War II in an airplane to go over to Europe, and he never returned. And the mother, she could never accept that the son might likely have died during the war. So she always thought that he was alive somewhere. She could not grasp or accept the fact that he was probably dead. And Charlie says that this tendency is mostly, the most extreme versions of the tendency is found in love, death, and chemical dependency. So he makes the example of the mother of a criminal, for example, will most likely not be able to admit to herself that her son is a criminal, and she will always think that he is innocent. The person in a relationship with a psychopath, many of them cannot accept or see that they are being abused, but simply because of the denial. It's too painful to actually accept it, that someone would do that to them. And he also makes the example of someone who is dependent on someone who is an alcoholic, for example, or using drugs, that they still think that they are a normal person and can uphold a normal life. But in reality, they're actually just spinning down in degradation. And Charlie also says that then if they start to accept that and seek help, he writes about Alcoholics Anonymous that they have a 50% success rate when they start to accept the fact that they have this problem. But he says if there's a 50% success rate, then there's also a 50% failure rate. So he recommends to stay away from all circumstances which can lead to a dependency on alcohol or drugs. Even if there's a slight chance that it might happen, you should stay away from those circumstances. And this could, for example, be being surrounded by other people who use drugs, for example, or who are super heavy drinkers, because we know from just by being around people, we start to emulate their behavior. So, and we can ask ourselves if we have suffered from being blind in any situation where we could not see the truth because of the reality was too painful, or if we have any family member who have done that, because it's very important to learn to see these things in order to make smarter decisions and avoid really tragic decisions in life. Because even if truth is very painful, just accepting truth will be the first step to actually moving forward. And for me, I think other people is really good to discuss things with. Not just people who agree with everything that we say, but people who have different opinions. Because if we have if we talk with people who have different opinions, they maybe challenge our belief systems and things that we think is true. And maybe then we start to get a better understanding of reality. We see reality in a clear way. For example, if reality is here and we have one viewpoint of reality, for example, one way of one political party or one viewpoint, and then another person might look at reality from the completely different opposite side, and both may be right in a certain way, but they're only seeing it from the different sides. But if we can learn to talk and communicate and learn from each other, we get a more fuller view of reality, and then we can take smarter decisions. And if we have had any blind spot, if we have been blind in one area, others can point that out to us, and instead of just neglecting that or hating what they say or becoming angry at that person, which might be the first response, then we could actually listen to what they say and maybe start questioning those beliefs that we really have and that we have taken as truths, and then we can actually become smarter. We can move forward in a better way. And we can see this, for example, in companies where they do 360-degree reviews, where they take in you have a survey and you write kind of anonymous response about one person or the boss or someone, and then many people do that. All the employees or something do that, or you do that in a large group of people. Maybe then they point out something about you that you haven't seen yourself. So that could also be a way of seeing blind spots that you could then improve, and then you could develop faster. It might be really painful doing it and really embarrassing that other people have seen this about you, but that you haven't seen it yourself. But accepting that pain and starting to evolve is the way forward. And why are these principles and tendencies important? Well, a lot of our quality of life comes from our decisions. And this is, if you're young watching this, maybe you haven't started seeing that yet. But for example, in your early 20s, then you will start to see consequences of your actions and your decisions, and they will affect you for the rest of your life. So if we can increase the quality of those decisions, we should be able to have a better quality of life and make smarter decisions. And if we remove stupid decisions that we potentially can make, then also naturally we should have a better quality of life. Because Charlie was a big believer of, he used to say, all I want to know is where I'm going to die, so I never go there. It was some rustic philosopher or someone who he read about this in a book. And he has mentioned that a lot of times. And what he's basically saying is that he wants to know the stupid stuff that he could do that would lead to failure, and that would... all the things he wants to avoid, basically. He wants to have them clear on a piece of paper. He wants to know them really, how he could mess up things so that he avoids that. And for me, I find that when I do that, it becomes amazing, because maybe then I see some things that maybe I had thought of are actually on that list. Because in the moment we're kind of bad at choosing. We see that, okay, we have these 3 options, for example. And in the moment they kind of look the same, because we haven't experienced those things yet. So if we have 3 options of education, for example, or job opportunities, they feel very similar in the moment, even though they might have extreme different results. So if we can make sure to avoid all the bad things that could happen and the bad decisions, then it's much less likely that we do those. And just by doing that, we have avoided the worst choices, the worst outcomes in life, and we are on a slightly better track. Then it's also good to as Charlie does, to see, okay, what really do I want to do? But to just eliminate the bad stuff, then naturally we are on a better track. And why am I teaching them to you? Well, by teaching them, I pound them in more. I really want to learn these principles and use them in my own life to improve the quality of my life. And by also teaching them, maybe you can grab 1 or 2 at the same time, but I'm doing it really for myself to learn them, because I know that when teaching, then I learn stuff better myself. And because when I teach, I will feel like a fraud if I'm not living up to these things myself. So, and to teach it, I also need to study it enough so that I know what I'm talking about. So then I also kind of need to take it in, the information, and process it and be able to express it. For example, maybe one person, let's say you want to read Poor Charlie's Almanack. Well, maybe someone listens to it in an audiobook one time and think, okay, now I've listened to Charlie Munger, that's it. Well, I ask myself, okay, what things with this book are most people not willing to do? So most people are not willing to teach others, to spend a lot of time to teach others the principles. And most people are not willing to actually read the whole book. And most people will not be willing to copy it out in handwriting. I really enjoy that way of really focused learning. So, hope you enjoyed the video, and hope you got 1 or 2 ideas from it that you can apply and take better quality decisions in your life and have a better quality life. Awesome, see you in the next video. Bye bye.